I just want to bring up a couple of things real quick to remind everybody we're finishing up the series on the 12 spiritual principles tonight. And then next week, I'll be starting the series on codependency, one of my favorite series. So I'll have some fun with that. Always love codependency because I'm a good part of it. Okay. I want to begin tonight by doing the reading from the language of letting go. And I chose the readings that are kind of connected with the first 3 days of this month. For the next 24 hours, in recovery, we live life one day at a time. An idea requiring an enormous amount of faith. We refuse to look back unless healing from the past is part of today's work. We look ahead only to make plans. We focus on this day's activity, living it to the best of our ability. I pray for the knowledge of your will for me only. We surrender to God's will. We stop trying to control, and we settle for a life that is manageable. We trust our higher power's will for us, that is good, generous, and with direction, and the power to carry that through. Some of recovery is accepting powerlessness. An important part of recovery is claiming the power to take care of ourselves. We never be called upon to do anything that we won't be empowered to do. Today, I can call upon an energizing source to help me. That power is God. I will ask for what I need. Okay. Tonight, what I want to do basically is kind of conclude this series and talk about how to live these principles in our daily, everyday life. The early founders of AA, when they put the program together, you'll notice when they did the 12 steps. In the 12th step, they simply say to practice these principles in each and every one of your affairs, to practice these principles in life. What I have learned over the years is that so many of us, not even realizing it, have been closed down for a long period of time. You know, one of the things I really love, and I love sharing it, and it's on the website, you can check it out, but from one of my eating disorder books, they have a thing called the Iceberg Theory. The theory fundamentally is this, that every one of us, at one time or another, kind of migrated towards what we call the iceberg. It meant that we froze our feelings and shut our feelings off, closed our feelings off, and literally just lived externally. And because so many of us have gone through different types of traumas, experiences, and things that have affected us over the course of our journey. Like I've always said, we all have baggage. Congratulations. But baggage can be negative and it can be positive. If we live by these principles, then we learn to take a look at the baggage from our past, learn how to process it, learn from it, and grow from it. I have learned over the course of my journey, and it took a while to do this, that literally, sometimes you have to go into isolation, loneliness, even sadness, to be able to come out of it, to discover another part of yourself, a beautiful part of yourself.
That's done to act with precision is absurd.
Excuse me. One of the things I've learned over the years, and I can relate to this in my own life, is I reflect back on the first 44 years of my life. In those first 44 years, I was an iceberg, and the iceberg was scary. What that meant was that all my feelings, all the things inside of me, I shut them down, I closed them off, and I functioned very well on the outside. And it's always easy to function on the outside because it means I'm functioning in what I call the two dangers to the principles of life. Those two dangers are fear and control. The more you try to control everything, the more you destroy it. The more we live in fear and refuse to take a look at it, the more we shut ourselves down and close ourselves off. Now, a lot of us have this thing of being scared, of being afraid. And so as a result, then very many times, we literally have to go through the iceberg. And what happens as a result of it, when you have a lot of secrets and you shut everything off and close everything down, then we do on the outside is we function, we survive. Even addictions come into play. What are addictions? There are ways in which I can embalm myself, shut myself off, close myself off, and I can make anything into an addiction. It's called a hiding place to hide from life. The 12 spiritual principles are what bring us out of hiding. They teach us about the beauty of life. These 12 principles teach us self-love, one of the greatest gifts we have to work on in life, to learn how to love ourselves and have a relation with ourselves as a person. They teach us self-discipline, self-structure. They teach us the concept of self-love, self-discipline, self-structure, self-openness, how to be able to look at life in a positive way. They also teach us the gift of acceptance. See, one of the hardest things in life to do, physically, emotionally, spiritually, and socially, is to come to an acceptance of the reality of who we are and where we are. Remember, I told you this about 48,000 times. We're not accidents, we are not mistakes. We're exactly where we are supposed to be on the journey in our life today. And because we're not accidents, we're not mistakes, then all the things that have happened in our life, all that baggage, if we can only have the courage and the strength to be able to face it, process it, learn from it. We're going to go through so much in life, and yet our experiences can bring us strength and bring us hope if we live by these principles. You know what's amazing about this is I realize in my own life, I lived inside of an iceberg for a long period of time. You know why? Because I was scared, I was afraid. I was afraid how to function in the world. I was afraid that I wouldn't do it right. I was afraid I had to do everything perfectly. I had to live in rigidity, judgmental. I was very judgmental, very angry, very blameful. All those things were part of the iceberg. But because I look on the outside, I can freeze them and I can walk around. If people ask me how I'm doing, I can always say, I'm fine. But I say fine differently. I'm fine. Get away from me. Don't bother me. You see, I'm frustrated, insecure, neurotic, and emotional. So don't get too near me. As a result, then I literally am always kind of saying these things because I'm scared. So the program teaches us, and that's why the first word of the program is so important. The word is we. We need each other. We need to be connected to each other. And so let's look at these things, these principles, through the eyes of 4 different parts of ourselves as people. Physically, each one of us has a physical body. The body has its imperfections. The body gets sick every once in a while. The body goes through changes. We go through different things that happen. We break something happens in our life. And yet we go through all these things because we are building a relationship with this body. No matter how fragile it is, no matter how, whatever it is, it's ours. Therefore, I have to learn to love it, to honor it, to respect it, and to accept it. See, my body belongs to me. It's mine, nobody else's. So how do I treat it? Do I honor it? Or do I beat it up with addiction? Put myself down, look at myself negatively. So the bottom line is I have to learn through the principles to accept who I am, have a sense of faith and trust that something out there is guiding me and taking care of me, and be able to trust and be more open. Have a sense of honesty with myself with a lot of love, do it positively, have a sense of humility, be open to learn, to grow, learn to have a sense to forgive myself and to forgive others, to make settlement, to make peace with the past. Now, I spent a long period of time in my life blaming the past, blaming others, blaming my parents, blaming the church, blaming this, blaming that. I was avoiding me, running away from me. I had so many fears and so many anxieties. But in our society, what do we do with our body? We get caught up in, society says you're supposed to look a certain way. Different advertisements tell us how we're supposed to look, how we're supposed to feel, all these things. In reality, no. Each one of us unique, each one of us is special. Each one of us has our little idiosyncrasies, the things that we do. Isn't it wonderful just to be a wonderful, powerful, beautiful human being? And every one of us is part of what that's really all about. And that's why it's so important. We also have to be able to build a relationship with these principles, with our emotions, our feelings. You see, one of the things I've learned over the years, your feelings are neither right nor wrong, they're just feelings. So many years I buried my feelings. I was scared to death of them. I was scared of how I felt. And as a result, then I always kind of avoided talking about them, hiding them, and even denying them. That was the biggest thing of all, denying my feelings. When really, in reality, your feelings are part of who you are. And our feelings, no matter what they are, negative or positive, are things that belong to us. We got to be able to get in touch with them, to embrace them, once again, to accept them, once again, to have faith, once again, to know that somehow, some way, I can trust enough people and people in my life to share my feelings with. I can't share all my feelings with everybody, but the more open I can be, the more I can share. Yes, you're going to get hurt. Yes, you're going to be vulnerable. Yes, you're going to go through changes. Isn't that fantastic? Even though we don't think it's so fantastic, we're going to go through it. Hurt, structure, pain, going through struggles, it's part of the journey, it's part of life. But that's where joy comes from, and celebration. You see, you have to be able to go through the struggle to get to the other side. But see, many of us have lived our life up here. Remember my nicknames for this? I always called this the control tower, the manipulation tower, and the con tower. Make ourselves crazy up here. We think this, we think that. We try to figure out what other people are thinking. We worry about what somebody else. If I share my feelings, what are they going to think? No. Acknowledge your feelings. Be in touch with them. Whatever you feel is okay. That's why feelings are neither right nor wrong. They're just feelings. These principles are teaching me to embrace my feelings, to be in touch with them, to honor them, to respect them, to realize the fact that thank God I can feel. Thank God I hurt. Thank God I can go through these things in life. Thank God I'm not a robot. You know, it's sad sometimes. I've seen so many people in the course of my journey that are simply existing. You know, they wake up, they go to sleep, they don't know what they're doing, and they wait for the undertaker to arrive. Even when he arrives, they don't even know he arrived. So it's crazy, some of the stuff that we do. But we learn from experiences. You know, a story I always love telling. And I got lots of stories, so I better tell you some of them. But anyway, I remember when I was a young priest, you know, scared to death. I knew nothing about life at all, because my mother had me in protective custody for 12 years. You know, so therefore I was preserved from acknowledging being around people, but especially I was preserved from relationships and being around women and stuff to that effect. So I came out and got ordained, and, you know, I didn't know what I was doing. I was scared out of my mind. And yet all of a sudden, as I told you, I went to that parish, and the pastor wasn't really available because he was too busy going out on binges. So I was told the day I walked in the door that I'm running a parish and I'm teaching high school. At high school, I was told I was coaching a baseball team. Before I know it, I have 5 other jobs. But see, I'm a good Gemini. I just go right ahead, do them all. I have no idea what the hell I'm doing. Isn't it amazing how we can do this stuff? That's codependency, by the way, in all its flavors. And yet I survived. And yet at the same time, I used addiction. I used different behaviors, different things to avoid having to feel, to look at myself, to deal with things, to have to face the world that I lived in. But on the outside, I was too busy putting the show on. And I realized today, I don't want to live that way anymore. I want to be able to enjoy life. So my feelings are good, they're good. I denied them for a long period of time. And fear is a feeling. But if you walk through your fears, things will be okay. I remember when I volunteered to become a prison chaplain, to work in the prison system. And I volunteered to work in a very poor parish. And when I was there, I had a lot of fears, a lot of anxieties. And yet, I learned a lot. People would say things to me, are you crazy volunteering to be a prison chaplain? Do you know what's going to happen to you when you go in there? All these stories they were telling me and everything else, all these fears. Well, I'll be honest with you, I was scared. I went in there, and guess what? Once I walked through my fears, I went to another experience. All of a sudden, the fears subsided, they went away. I met some great people inside the prison system. I met people that taught me all kinds of neat stuff, how to open doors without keys, it's wonderful. How to do all kinds of wonderful little things, how to play cards. I learned how to play poker. I learned how to lose money inside the prison. It was fantastic. But the bottom line was we had fun. I would still remember that a special section in the prison, especially in the Mace Landing, Atlantic City area, for guys that used to dress as females and as prostitutes on the boardwalk. And I used to visit them, bring communion to them. When I would go, they would say to me, Father, now turn your back while we get dressed. Then they get all dressed up and everything for so I can give them communion. And I loved them. I had so much fun. I like being around people that are different. You know why? They help me to be more open. They help me to be more connected. That's why I love the diversity of life, the diversity of people. I love the concept that we're all different. I love the concept that we even have different little idiosyncrasies and behaviors and things that we do. Yeah, we get on each other's nerves every once in a while. I get on Loretta's nerves all the time. It's not a problem. But, you know, we get on each other's nerves. But we love one another. We care about each other. It's all part of the process we go through in life. You know, Gene drives me crazy all the time. But what are you going to do? You know, he's an Italian nut. That's why. But the beautiful part about it is I enjoy this. I enjoy the concept of it. And what I've learned over the years is I finally have people in my life I can share my feelings with. I can let things out. I don't have to keep stuff inside anymore. Because I've learned through these principles of recovery, these beautiful principles, I've learned that honesty is such a gift. But you got to do it slowly and temper, a little bit at a time. You got to see who you can trust, you can't trust. You let things out a little bit at a time. And the healing process takes place inside. Nothing happens quickly. And that's where my spirit, my spirituality, my energy comes into place. You know, I really believe that, you know, the power of positive thinking. And I'm learning from a lot of people. You know, a very good friend of mine has this attitude, and I love it. You know, whenever she gets a cold, she says, this cold is only for 7 days and then it has to leave. No doctors, no nothing, no cold medicine. I'm giving it 7 days, it's got to leave. I said, for real? Yep. And so basically she did her prayers and stuff and everything. So at the end of the 7 days, she said it left. I said, wow, you should sell that to a doctor someplace. But the concept is, literally, I find it amazing sometimes that the more we can get in touch with our spirit, and I learned this from the Indians. I learned it from Indian meditation books, because so many times people that are in touch with their spirit are in touch with life, and they can actually heal things and take care of things and look at things differently. You know, the old timers, the old Indians, I learned this from a couple of the Indian tribes, you know, when they were ready to leave this world and to die, they could feel that in their spirit. They would go and say goodbye to everybody, and then go up the mountain to release their spirit, to allow it to go. And I've been around a lot of people on their deathbed, and I find it very powerful and very beautiful to watch people when they're ready to go. I love telling the story when I was a young priest, and I'll be honest, this scared the hell out of me. I'll be honest with you. But I was at the bedside of a young lady who was in her early 30s. She had severe cancer. She was on her deathbed. She had 3 beautiful children, a husband, you know, and I just loved her spirit. She was so much in touch with her spirituality. She would say to me, don't be afraid, Vince. It's okay. She said goodbye to her children, say goodbye to her husband. And then she said to me, then stay with me while I go. So I sat there holding her hand, and she just talked to me and told me, everything's going to be okay. I'm just going to go to another place and be at peace. And I was with her when she died. She died so peacefully. It was unbelievable. When I experience people like that, who really are in touch with their inner spirit and really are able to connect to things in life, it's so powerful and so beautiful. And that's why I've learned over the years that this gift of the 12 principles, this gift that was given to us in recovery, it's all based around the 12 steps. It's such a powerful gift because it allows you to get in touch with your inner spirit. It allows you to work on yourself. It allows you to build a relationship with yourself. It allows you to get to fuel your body through prayer, through meditation, through healing, through learning, through service, through sharing. All these things are part of the journey of life, and we should get excited about them. Yes, we live in a very dysfunctional world. And if I live by these principles, is the world going to change? No. The world will always be dysfunctional. There'll always be insanity around us. But we have to ask ourselves a question. Do I want to be part of the insanity? Or do I want to work within my own self, people around me, and be connected to other individuals that are healthy and working on themselves, and be able to do the best I can and pass my good energy on to somebody else and allow them to pass it on to somebody else? That's what we are. We're messengers. We're teachers. All of us. And that's why there's no such thing as somebody's better than others. But I'm learning through these principles that once you get in touch with them, then you will start to discover talents and gifts and things that are part of your life that are so powerful and so beautiful. Now, I never understood this, but the old timers used to say to me a long time ago, they'd say, you see this pen? You see your hand? You write down the things you're feeling, the things you're doing, do things in this direction. And I figure back then we had typewriters and now we have computers and all that. They say, no, you write. It's your brain, it's your process. And I had the opportunity in my life to write 3 or 4 books, but every one of them that I wrote by hand. Because every one of them was a gift and a talent that was given to me by people a long time ago. They were right. Because as I wrote, I learned. As I wrote, I discovered. But I also began to discover things I had inside of me I didn't even know were there. It's amazing how I look at people and look at how they're able to touch others and do things with others. And they have so many gifts inside of them. And we all in this room have gifts. We need to share those gifts and put those gifts out there. Allow those gifts to come alive inside of us. We're all gifted people in different directions, and it's okay. That's how it's supposed to be. And it's so beautiful because it also allows you to open up and discover more gifts that you have inside of yourself. Because when I share my gifts with others and they share their gifts with me, I learn from them, and hopefully they learn from me. We learn from one another. That's what it's all about. That's why we're all connected to one another. And we learn that even on a social level. We need each other. We need to be around people. We need to socialize. We need to get out there. We need to be connected. I'm so grateful that at my age, I can still go into work. I can still interact with people. I can still be connected with people. I have discovered this wonderful thing called Zoom. Keep smiling, Loretta. The thing called Zoom. And as a result of that, I'm able to connect with more and more people in more and more parts of the country and to get connected with other individuals. And to me, that is so exciting. I actually connected with somebody in Pakistan. I connected with somebody in Great Britain. I was able to connect overseas. I was saying, oh my God, in heaven, it's so wonderful. And yet I get to meet different people, different cultures, different backgrounds, and get to experience them. And yet I know if I didn't have these principles alive inside of me, and if I didn't live by these principles or try to anyway, I would never be able to do some of the things I can do today. Do I get down? Yeah. A lot of times I do. Sometimes I don't even want to do this. And then I do it. And then I feel good. I still feel that way sometimes. It's almost like I want everything to go away. I don't really want it to go away. I mean, maybe Jerome or a few people in here, but I don't really want them to go away because they're part of my life and part of my journey. But I also can have some fun. And I've learned to be part of communities. I meet a bunch of guys every morning at the gym, and God, they're great. They don't probably know a damn thing about recovery. That's okay. But we enjoy one another. We cut each other up. We have a lot of fun, and we have a couple of jokesters down there that like to pull some pranks. I'm one of them. I enjoy doing it. We have a guy that comes in every morning, and he also brings his bottle of water and his little bag of mixed nuts that he eats. As soon as he goes on a machine somewhere, I always hide him. Usually put him in the ladies' room or someplace and see if he can find him. And he's always, this is kind of crazy stuff we pull on one another. But that's fun. That's how it's supposed to be. We got to learn to laugh. You know what I'm learning? To laugh even when it's not funny. I mean, you have to laugh at insanity. But know that somehow, some way you can work through it. Do you ever have those days when everything goes wrong? Do you have those days when nothing ever works? Do you have those days when you say, I should go home, go to bed and start over again? Got to have those days once in a while, right, John? We need those days because they're the days that teach us that we have better days coming. It's got to go through it. And what I'm learning, though, we have two choices. We can run and hide and go back in the isolation, go back into the iceberg. The iceberg's too damn cold. I don't want to go back there. I like being out with the warm. And that's why I've learned over the years, I don't need to spend my life buried in different types of addictions and stuff to that effect. Do I fall back into my old patterns? Sure I do. I remember when I did my family sculpting and I put all my patterns in jail. But these patterns of mine, these crazy addictions and stuff, they know how to pick locks at jails to get back out again. You got to put them back in again. It's part of life. You're always battling something. At the same time, you have to realize deep down inside, there's that heart, that part of you that's so beautiful and so good. There's that love. And that's why you have to be able to share things from your heart and be around people you can share them with. Be around people you can have fun with. Be around people that you can be honest with and be open with. People you can cry with and be sad with. It's all part of the journey. I have so much gratitude in my life today because these principles have taught me to open my heart, to open my mind, to look at things differently, to enjoy. But I'm learning something. If you truly do have a positive attitude, if you live by these principles, you won't get old, or your body will. But your mind, your spirit, other things will stay alive. And that's what's important. And that's why it's so important not to just curl up and go into a corner and say, that's it, I'm done. Nah. Why do you want to be done? You're always in process. You're always learning. Are things going to happen? Yeah. I mean, you have to come to the acceptance. There's that acceptance thing again. Acceptance and adjustment. Isn't it wonderful? Constantly doing it. You have to come to the acceptance that you can't do some of the things you used to be able to do. I said it earlier. I was just joking. I said, but, I got 7 grandkids. And when they were nice and small, I used to crawl on the ground. They get on my back and give them piggyback rides, everything, the whole works. But something happened. They grew up. That's what happens. They grow up. And now if I give them a piggyback ride, I'll be going to a chiropractor. It's not going to work now. In fact, my little grandson that I had so much fun with and rolled in the grass with outside and joked with and wrestled with and everything. In 3 weeks, I'm going to his wedding. What happened there? Well, the only thing I'll look forward to, maybe eventually I'll get a couple great grandkids I can do some of those things again with. But the bottom line is everything changes, things are moving, people grow up, we get older, we get weaker, we go through changes. Hey, that's what it's all about, isn't it? It's wonderful. We get a little grayer. And you try to hide it by getting rid of it. It's totally amazing. Or other ways in life, we go through little idiosyncrasies. Our body says, stop, you're tired. Listen to it. But this I'm talking about, what these principles teach us to have a relationship with our body, with our spirit, with our energy, with who we are as people, to have a relationship with others, to have a relationship with the world, to society, to the world that we live in. We're part of it all. I can walk around and I hear the guys in the morning, oh man, I wish it was like it was, I don't know, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago. I don't want to go back there. That had its own dysfunctionality too. The other one is, I wish I knew what I know today back when I was 20 years old. You wouldn't have paid attention to it when you were 20 years old. That's okay. Right, Pat? You would have paid attention to it. It comes with experience. It comes with going through struggle. It comes through going through the fire to come to the other side. It's all part of it. And so you have to look at it, look at the fact that every one of us has what I call recovery battle scars. They're scars of honor, because it means you've been through the fight. It means you've been through the struggle. It means you're trying your best. You do it one day at a time. That's why I did that reading. One day, keep it simple. Don't try to do too much. Do what you can, but try to live by these principles. And so the 12 spiritual principles that give us the gift of life, the gift of self-respect, the gift of love, the gift of relationship, acceptance, faith, and trust, honesty, humility, forgiveness, settlement, making peace, being open to the concept of healing, being open to the concept of prayer and meditation, to fill my soul, to fill things in, to be a person of service, to be a person of sharing, to be a person to be open to others, and also to be a person of gratitude. I say this so many times, but I say it every morning. I try to the best of my ability every day to have an attitude of gratitude, an attitude of humility, an attitude of acceptance, an attitude of love. If I can treat myself that way, then I'll treat others that way. Will I fall down? Yes. But I have to learn to get back up. Will I go through changes? Yes. Go through them. Don't run away from them. Feel them. Be in touch with them. Honor them. Celebrate the gift of who you are every day. Celebrate the gift of where you're on your journey in your life. Celebrate the people you're connected with, even though at times they're going to aggravate the hell out of you. That's wonderful too, because they're supposed to, because they're going to have bad days too. Let them have them, okay? Don't try to fix everybody and take care of everybody. Let people go through their journey. Let them learn. So many times we get caught up. I'll talk more about that in codependency, where I want to take care of everybody. I want them to be okay. I don't want my kids to go through what I went through. They got to go through their struggles. They got to go through their turmoil. They got to go through their learning and their experiences. Sometimes we have to let them go. It's interesting, but I look back on my own life, but I want to share something I learned too from watching animals. I love animals. You know why I love them? Because they're have so much more common sense than we do. There was a great video on TV about tigers. And when a tiger had little babies, when they got to a certain age, they had to start hunting for themselves. They would keep trying to come back to mommy, and mom would take the back of her hand and smack them and force them to go out there and do what they had to do to learn how to survive in the world and in their world. And sometimes we need a little, but today we gotta be careful what we say. But I look back on my life, I had these wonderful ladies called nuns. I actually went through boot camp. It was wonderful. I got smacked around a little bit. I got a couple of headaches here and there. But a lot of them, today they did teach me structure and discipline, and maybe I learned something from them. Who knows? They were tough, but sometimes you got to go through that toughness. And I look back on some of the things in life, that I experienced, I went through, and maybe I needed to go through them to become the person I am today. So don't try to look at everything negatively. Try to look at them through the eyes of learning, through the eyes of growing. I got strength from so many family things. I always talk about my mom taught me how to make this wonderful coat. I call it the senior citizen coat. I actually should make them and sell them 1155 and over community. They're wonderful. They're coats with the pockets on the inside, not on the outside. When you go to restaurants, they're very handy because you get to take everything home, even the silverware sometimes. What can I say? But the bottom line is they're called the senior citizen coats. They're wonderful. Remember one time my stepdaughter pulled a little trick on my wife they're at a restaurant in Chicago. And my wife went to the bathroom. And while she was at the bathroom, they took all the silverware off the tables and put them in her pocketbook. Then when she went up to pay the check, she opened her pocketbook and all the silverware was sitting there. I don't recommend that today because they probably have a security guard on top of you today. But even the restaurant got a big kick out of it. But sometimes you do some crazy stuff. And that's part of life too. Now I can stay here tonight till midnight and tell you crazy stories and stuff I did. That knows them all. I'll go back and forth. She helped edit my book. That's why she knows them all. But the bottom line is, I did some pretty crazy stuff. Would I do it today? Probably not. Who knows? But I did it. And I look back on it and I can laugh about that and look at it today. But every one of those things taught me something. Made me the person I am today. All the experiences did. So please do yourself a favor. Take these principles. Try to live by them. They're just the principles of life. And they will teach us self-love, self-awareness, self-discovery, beautiful sense of ourselves, so then we can share it with others. And realize the fact that even the hurt we've gone through needs to be shared. Try not to keep stuff inside. Because remember the old saying, we're as sick as our secrets. And secrets just fester inside of you. You got to be able to work them through, work to the other side. So my prayer tonight is that all of us, every one of us, will have the strength and the courage to take these principles, to live by them, be open to them, and be open to the journey. And realize the fact that the journey of life is exactly that. It's a journey. We're all on it. It's got a beginning, it's got an ending. I always tell people, don't forget you got a round trip ticket. And one day the boss is going to punch the other end of it. Got to make that trip. It's okay. Do the best you can while you're here. And love one another, share with one another, and be close to each other. So let us pray. God, thank you so much for all the gifts you've given us. Thank you for the gift of these principles, the principles of life. Teach us to try to live them to the best of our ability, to be open to them, to be open to learn, to grow, to realize that we're not done, to keep a sense of discovery inside of ourselves as people, to have the spirit and the energy that you've given to us, to be able to pass that on to others, to help others on our journey, to give the gift of life to all those that we meet, realizing the fact they're a part of our journey, they're part of who we are. Teach us not to judge others. Remember, let's look within our own selves, share the gift of the things that are happening inside of us. Stay away from judging others. If we have a hard time, Lord, teach us to pray, to give them to you, and to allow you to be the healer in our life. And may we be the healers in the lives of others. We pray and we ask for this blessing, and we ask this in your name. Amen. And now if we can unmute, I'm going to turn it over to the maestro to lead us in the serenity prayer.
God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. God's will, not mine, be done.